The countdown to the 2024 Summer Olympics in Paris isn't just on, it's moving fast. I'm NBC Connecticut sports reporter Gabrielle Lucivero, joined by NBC Connecticut anchor Kevin Nathan. Kevin, you've covered 5 Olympic Games, and I mean, any athlete would hope to say that they could go to one. Any reporter.
I was an athlete that wanted to go to one, but that was never happening.
Any reporter would hope that they would get to say they would get to go to one, and you've got the chance to cover 5. And when we started to think about this lead up to Paris, I think I always get to walk by your desk and I get a little nugget of information every time I
stop
come.
you and harass you with
Yes.
Olympic useless knowledge.
I wouldn't think that it's useless, but you know, I get to learn all this stuff, and I thought, why should that just be contained to me, right? So let's share it with the good people of Connecticut and whoever wants to tune in and watch this. So you've had 3 Winter Olympics and 2 Summer Olympics. That first one was Salt Lake.
Yeah, if you can believe it, all the way back in 2002, you were probably in grade school.
I was 10.
Okay.
So fair enough.
Salt Lake was special because it was, I don't know, 4 months after 9/11. So it was a chance for the country to kind of, we'll never move past 9/11, but maybe smile a little bit finally. It was security, as you can imagine, 4 months after September 11th was very tight. But look, of the 5 Olympics, and then it was a 10-year lull, London in 2012, Sochi in Russia 14, Rio in 2016, South Korea 2018, before you took over, and you've done such a fabulous job. But '02, the standout moment, and I know Ryan Hanrahan's watching this as we put this together, and Jerry Brooks somewhere is listening. I mean, Jimmy Shea is an all-time great Olympic story, maybe trumped by your cousin, which we can get into, Lindsay Jacobellis. But Jimmy Shea was pure amateur athletics. Here's a guy from West Hartford in the skeleton, which they reintroduced at the '02 Olympics, where you're going a million miles an hour on a sled. But he was the first third-generation Olympian. His grandfather had won 2 golds in the '32 Olympics in speed skating. His father was a cross-country skier. You know, his grandfather was killed by a drunk driver 2 weeks before the Olympics up in Lake Placid where he lived. So you had that as the backdrop. Jimmy Shea's last run, he wins the gold by like 4/100ths of a second. And we happen to be the only crew there, because who the heck's covering skeleton at the Olympics? Well, the station from Connecticut that has an Olympian from West Hartford. And the sheer exuberance of that. And then, getting to go to the after hours Olympic party with the gold medal. He said, "Here, Kevin, wear the gold medal." I said, "No, it's like the Stanley Cup. I can't touch it. I can't put it on."
At least put the gloves on or something before you could.
Just got pictures with it. That was it.
I mean, there's so many moments, right? Those ones, that stands out. That's incredible. That's a once-in-a-lifetime moment. But then you add in, and it's everywhere you look in Connecticut, it seems like there is just somebody who has that amazing Olympic moment, and you've been there for so many of them. Tell us more.
Well, some of the best moments aren't even the ones that result in a gold medal. I mean, we've certainly had our share of gold medals from Connecticut. I'll get into some of that. But, it's the behind-the-scenes stuff. I mean, for me personally, probably my greatest moment was 2016. My son, Ryan, who's going into education now, he was an intern in college at the Rio Olympics, and he was a college swimmer. We got to go watch a Lochte Phelps relay race where Phelps won, by the way, shockingly, a gold medal, and there I am with my son. So, it wasn't always the athlete. Sometimes, as you know from covering the Olympics, it's the people you meet, and there's just a spirit about being at the Olympics that's hard to quantify.
And I'll tell you, that's not something I've had the luck to experience yet, because the one that I got to cover was in Beijing. It was during that pandemic, and we didn't have the benefit of spectators too. So I haven't gotten to experience that quite yet, but if you can take me in there and the spectators, it's the families that are a part of it and all of that. What are some of the great family stories, and just having, that rally behind from Connecticut all over the world?
It takes a village. It's not just the athlete, it's the coach, it's the people that volunteer. There's sort of an entourage. So when you get to meet the families and you see how much pride they have, I think of Margot Farrell, who went on to work at another local TV station. She won a bronze for France. She grew up swimming at Amity High School, was a great All-American swimmer at Indiana. And I remember interviewing Margot and her family just before France would qualify for the finals, and then she would win the bronze medal. And I talked to her mom, and she said, I literally missed winning a medal in like the '76 Olympics for France by a fingernail, and of course their fingernails were painted. So you know the visual way we tell stories. Boom, we had part of our story. But yeah, to see Margot with the whole family, Julie Chu comes to mind when she won Olympic gold, I think a few times in ice hockey, and it was this whole Chu family from Fairfield, Connecticut there to support Julie.
And of course, there's so many unique stories in this. And then it also comes with the unique way that you guys have chosen to kind of tell those stories. We have a few of them. Take a look.
You seem like a clean-cut shoreline guy. You got to have a screw loose to do this snowboard cross.
You know, I've never really fit into that snowboard aspect. I tried having long hair for a little while, and it was definitely fun, but I was fortunate to have a really solid upbringing. My family and friends we were all really close, and I think that helped steer my moral compass in the right direction, and I'm definitely grateful for it.
That Diebold compass headed north. After his 9th grade year at Notre Dame West Haven, Alex and his family moved to Vermont so he could pursue his dream.
My family made a lot of sacrifices to help me get here. I didn't always have the financial support that I needed, but the sacrifices they made, leaving Brantford, relocating my family up to Vermont, have all been worth it. They've all paid off.
But no paying at Pepe's Pizza, where Alex Diebold's uncle is part owner. You ever paid for pizza there?
I've been to Pepe's more times than I can count, and I paid once. There was one time I paid in cash, and I got an envelope in the mail 3 weeks later with the money I paid for that pizza back, saying you're not allowed to pay when you come in here.
Are they going to make an Alex Diebold pizza after you, or what?
You know, I think if I win a gold medal, I hope to create my own pie, as they call it back there.
West Hartford's Jimmy Shea won a gold medal in which Olympic sport in '02?
I don't know.
I don't know that one. Speed skating.
Oh no. This is sad.
Skeleton.
Ooh, with confidence.
Skeleton.
Well done! 2 Connecticut Olympians who are in the same 1st grade class.
Ooh, the answer is I can't. I'm so embarrassed. I'm so ashamed.
Is it Kylie and Mac?
Did you study for this quiz?
Kylie McKinnon and Mac Bohannon.
Me and Mac.
This Connecticut Olympian had a luge course in his backyard.
Tucker West.
Tucker West.
I trained with him in Lake Placid for a few years, so I know him pretty well.
Yeah, the track is still there. It's maybe not functional. It's been a little while since we've tightened the screws on it, but I think it would just need a good little elbow shine. It'd be good to go.
She won gold in figure skating from Riverside, Connecticut in 1976 and had a famous haircut. Who is it?
I don't know.
No, I hate this quiz. I don't know any of the answers.
I know Dorothy Hamill.
Will you teach some of these youngsters
Figure
who...
skating.
77.
Figure skating.
Yeah, you know who Dorothy Hamill is.
Yes, I do.
Tucker had no idea.
Are you kidding me?
I am not.
We have even talked about that whole thing now that I, Tanya is coming out.
Dorothy, you're too young. Dorothy
I'm way
Hamill.
too young. I'm way too
Ask
young.
your mom. She'll know Dorothy Hamill.
God, I'm gonna fail this quiz.
Connecticut may not be the biggest state by a long shot, but there are so many Olympic greats that have come from right here, and many more even before you started covering the Olympics. You've learned so much about the history of Olympians in our state, too.
Yeah, I mean, look, the joke is if somebody gets off the merit, Gabby, and buys a cup of coffee, we're going to claim them as a Connecticut athlete. That said, I mean, the most obvious is the UConn basketball connection, and certainly with Diana Taurasi and Sue Bird, each winning 5 gold medals in women's basketball, and that's a legit connection. But even prior to my time covering Olympics, you know, in person, which started in '02, you know, you go back to 1976 when the Olympics summer winter were in the same year. Dorothy Hamill, Riverside section of Greenwich, gold
I've
medal,
heard of her.
figure skating. You don't have the haircut. We got to get you the Dorothy Hamill haircut.
No, I've avoided that one, but if you skate like Dorothy Hamill, you can have that haircut.
And in that same year of 1976, Bruce Jenner, you know, they now go by Caitlyn Jenner, but Bruce Jenner won the decathlon in 1976 in Montreal, greatest athlete in the world, arguably. But I think my favorite, because I actually got to profile this person, was the late Lindy Remigino, longtime track coach at Hartford Public. He won 2 golds in Helsinki, Finland in '52. And Remigino is so humble. He kept them tucked away in a drawer in Newington. But his story was he was 5'7", 135 pounds, soaking wet. And you look at the evolution of the fastest man in the world in the 100 meters, you know, from Lindy Remigino to Usain Bolt. He said he was leading at 80 meters, and he thought he was going to win, so he kind of started sticking his chest out, which he said was the worst thing you can do. And it ended up being a photo finish with a guy named Herb McKinley. It took 15 minutes to determine the winner. Lindy Remigino wins. But back to the money aspect, I remember before he passed, he told me, hey, Kevin, I would have been a gazillionaire, a millionaire, a Wheaties box. There was none of that stuff in 1952. He did it purely for the love of the sport, came back to his Hartford roots where he grew up, and then coached track at Hartford Public, and I think won, 35 state championships or something crazy in 45, 50 years of coaching.
Coaching at Hartford Public, keeping the Olympic medals in a drawer in his house.
As humble as you get.
And you mentioned basketball, right? We always, when you think about the Olympics, especially the summer games, it's hard not to go right to USA basketball, the women's basketball team, those UConn connections who have come through, and you've gotten to see some of the greats.
Yeah, I mean, so many of the great Huskies. I think at one point there were 5 or 6 UConn players on the Olympic team, and then Gino Auriemma coaching the team. And if there were a gold medal for interviews and sound bites, I think Gino wins the gold. And Diana Taurasi's very close. She gets the silver. I'll give Sue Bird a bronze. I mean, the 3 of them, because part of our job, obviously, is to tell stories. And look, we've all been in situations where, Bill Belichick, right? He wants nothing to do with the media. Gino, whatever mood he's in, win, lose, or draw, well, there were no losses when he coached the women's basketball at the Olympics. Always something entertaining and enlightening to say, which was great.
It's been really fun to learn a little bit more about their personalities as well, and you've gotten a chance to, of course, showcase the Diana Taurasi, Sue Bird, and all that, and we have a couple of those clips here.
Well, what a day for Gino Auriemma and his 5 former UConn Huskies. Team USA gets it done. They win their 6th straight Olympic gold medal.
What does this mean, 4 straight gold medals?
For me it's 4. For USA basketball, it's 6. That's incredible. And it just shows just how dominant we are and how you can put the best players in our country together and go out there and be unselfish and just want to win.
When I was a little kid, I didn't even think I'd make it to an Olympics, and now looking back on it, I'm at 4. But the coolest part is that, now Maya's going to go for 4. We keep setting the bar so high.
Hold that thing up and show it to everybody in Connecticut. Do you like to bite on it like Diana?
Yeah, I do a little bit.
Is it emotional for you?
Yeah, it is. It really was. At the end of the game, there's so many people that work so hard to make this happen, and they're counting on us to bring it home.
And to give you some idea of how dominant the U.S. has been in women's basketball, they haven't lost an Olympic game since 1992, before Brianna Stewart was even born. 4 of the best players in the world on Team USA played their college ball at UConn. Diana Taurasi, Sue Bird, Brianna Stewart, and Tina Charles.
When you come through UConn, it's like a sorority.
It may be a sorority, but Diana Taurasi hasn't worn a UConn uniform since 2004. Sue Bird last donned a Huskies jersey in '02.
This is obviously my 18th or so year.
Who's counting?
I know. I know some of these UConn players weren't even alive. It's freaking scary.
I never expected to be on one Olympic team, and fast forward, hopefully going for my 5th one.
Obviously, we wouldn't do it if we didn't love it, if we didn't think we still had more to give, more to gain. So here we are.
As Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi go for their 5th straight gold medals, they lead a USA women's basketball team that hasn't lost at the Olympics since 1992.
And then you got this streak, that you guys
I
haven't
don't
lost.
even know. I don't even know what you're talking about.
1, 2, 3, USA! We don't really get caught up in the streaks or the dynasty of it all. We're very much aware of it. We know we're a part of it, and we want to carry that on. But it's easier to just kind of focus on the moment.
All right, my turn to quiz you now. It's
Great.
the passing of the torch. It's already happened. You did such a fabulous job covering the last Olympics, including your cousin, which, with all due respect to Jimmy Shea, Lindsay Jacobellis, winning gold the way she did with her whole story. may have trumped
They
Jimmy.
both can be true as
Okay.
the best stories to come out of Connecticut. Obviously, what a privilege to get to cover any Olympian and then to get to do it with your family at an Olympics where no family gets to be there, and to see her go through what she went through over 5 Olympics to get there. To say I was jumping up and down is an understatement.
Oh, I mean, I can't even imagine, and you handle it so professionally, and then to be able to capture that emotion. And look, maybe not anything to the level of Lindsay Jacobellis at this Olympics, although I'm very excited, among others, for Kieran Smith from Ridgefield, because as I mentioned, my son swam in college, certainly wasn't an Olympian, but I followed swimming because of my son, and to have someone of his stature, literally and figuratively, 6'6", who could win gold, going to Paris where he is has a legit shot to win maybe a couple of golds.
Well, right, you talk about swimming, and that's such a marquee event. And to have somebody from Ridgefield, Connecticut, who's already brought a bronze home, he won bronze, and talk about jumping up and down. We've got that great video of, again, that family, they couldn't really be there, and it's that watch party, and they're jumping up and down, and so still finding ways to share that moment, and getting to be a part of that is so cool. So he already has that bronze medal from Tokyo, and you're right, he's a legitimate contender in a marquee event. It's not just, oh, maybe they'll go and make a splash. It's let's watch and see what he does.
A splash? What did you just do there?
I've done
You've
this
been hanging
before.
around me too long.
I've picked up a few things. Yeah, Kieran Smith, if there's someone to watch, if there's a name to put on your list, it's Kieran Smith. But there's more.
Well, tell us, because we have a goalkeeper, right? Who...
Yeah, so Alyssa Nair, Stratford native, and she is with the Chicago Red Stars in the NWSL now, and she's been to 2 Olympics. She was a backup for Hope Solo in 2016. Then she took over. She led them to the semifinals in 2021. And she's just another one who we got to know the family. And that was what made it even that much better to watch and root for her, is getting to know her parents and seeing what they put in to leading her. And she's a twin. Her sister cheers her on. We've got to watch her at Rentschler Field when the U.S. women's national team has come through here. So talk about another marquee sport. You've got women's soccer, and their starting goalkeeper is from Stratford, Connecticut.
And we have a great history of women's soccer here with Tony DiCicco, the late coach from Wethersfield, and Christine Lilly, the great player who grew up in Wilton, Connecticut. Anyone else? I mean, I know how I say you and me, we cover this where, again, any kind of Connecticut connection, those are 2 obvious ones with Kieran Smith and Alyssa Nair. Anyone else that maybe people are really into this stuff can start Googling and looking into now before Paris?
Well, what I love is that it seems like we find a new one every day.
Sometimes a week into the Olympics. So if you know of anyone,
yeah,
let us know.
Please let us
now.
know. That's important. What I love is we're always finding somebody new. And just recently, it's learning about a CCSU grad who's from Bethlehem, Connecticut, who is the first American to qualify for the modern pentathlon for the 2024 games. She's a CCSU grad. Jess Davis trains here in Connecticut. And the modern pentathlon, I've had to look it up, so we'll see. It's equestrian. We've got fencing, swimming, cross country, and pistol shooting. We have an athlete here in Connecticut who isn't just a part of it, but she's the first American to qualify for it in 2024. So that's someone we just learned about, but we have rowers to keep an eye on. We have the head coach of the women's skateboarding team. She's from Old Saybrook, Alexis Sablone.
Yeah,
why not?
Athlete.
So I said rowers, we've got skateboarders, we have, of course, all the Yukon ties to basketball. There's field hockey players to keep an eye out for. So just pretty much throw a dart and you'll find somebody with a Connecticut connection.
Introduce us, I hope, to the food and fine spirits at Paris as well.
Yeah, twist my arm. I would absolutely hate to bring that all to you. But truly, this is just the beginning of all of our coverage and what we're going to get a chance to do here in Connecticut. I'm lucky enough to be doing it from Paris, but really, what a privilege to be able to learn about all of these athletes in the future and the ones who've come before.
And then get to travel and meet all the great colleagues from other NBC affiliates. That might have been my favorite part, because I made some lifelong friendships doing 5 Olympics where, for 3 weeks, they're sort of your family. And that's part of what makes it special. And I know you probably didn't get as much of that as the pandemic was winding down at the last Olympics, but you will this time, and it's special.
But let's be real, it's a lot of hard work.
Heck yeah.
We start talking about this so early on. We've been talking about it since the end of the last Olympics. I learned so much from you and what you've done to set me up for success. And so this doesn't happen by accident. By no means are we Olympic athletes, but it certainly takes a lot of preparation to get to this point too. So we can't wait to get a chance to share all those stories with you from here in Connecticut, from Paris. This is just the start of our coverage, and of course the 2024 Paris Olympics. Those start on July 26th. Kevin, thank you so much for chatting with me.